I'm happy to welcome you, my dear colleagues, my dear friends. I'm looking at our chat and I see so many wonderful people today. I hear our interpreters already working. Good morning. So today we start a very interesting journey, a journey that is dedicated to the stories, and I'm happy to welcome you all here on this platform on our My name is Artem Mushin-Mukandansky. I'm the founder of Historia Academy, and I'm working with the corporate storytelling. For the last 6 years, it's been my main topic, and I understood that stories is something very close to a human being. This is a real instrument that can change our communication dramatically. Today, we start an interesting journey, a voyage even, and I will start our journey with a small presentation of my own. So let's begin. We are here today in order to see the stories as instruments to work with culture. We are here. This is what is important. So I won't be talking about the topic of the conference. Please write in the chat where your feet are touching the ground right now. I've heard this question from one of our colleagues, Yanis Angelis. They are together with Mary Ellis Arthur, conducted a very nice supporting session. Their stories were really healing, not persuading. I like this question because it's not about the physical place. You can write about your city, uh, about your rug. So where are your feet touching the ground now? Maybe it's a living room or nice cozy shoes. Oh, great. The answers are coming. Wonderful. So you understand this is a not very typical business conference. Yeah, surely we'll be looking at the stories as instruments, but it's all about being a human being, about around the fireplace together. So let's keep the conference flame alive so we can feel each other. You see a small fire sign. If you like it, please give our speaker a sign. Press this button one time or several times. It will be nice and we'll feel like we're all around this fire gathered together. So we are here to discover stories as a tool for working with corporate culture. For me, it's a long journey, and it started long ago when my um, wife really showed me that a story can be more than persuading. I started reading more and more. Then I started the interviews, conducted interviews with those who wrote those books. With some of them, we talk during this conference. I've been talking with them per phone, and we were talking about the storytelling in leadership and sales. And during those interviews, I met lots of people who will actually meet during those conference days, and they all believe in the stories. So this is a kind of this conference really is all about motivation. On the 3 days we will meet online. We also have a Telegram chat. It's in Russian, but we also answer there in English and so on. Please don't hesitate to share your ideas, to have questions. So it would be a real living conference. We are here to discover story as a tool, as already said. So I'll show you a part of the interview from one of the experts. This is an interview from the Jeff Mead. For me, that was a total insight I will share it with you. It will be
I
in
often
English, but
say
also
to
it
people
will
that
have
I'm
the
not very interested
subtitles.
in leadership. In fact, after 30 years, I've been working in the leadership development world, and
Yeah.
I've decided that leadership doesn't mean anything. It's an abstract noun.
Okay. That's
I
a good
am
start.
very, very interested when we speak of leading, when we turn it from an abstract noun into a verb. So for me, it's really about a practice. It's
Uh-huh.
something we do. And leading is something that uh, anyone can do. It's not the exclusive reserve of a few people who are leaders and they lead people who are followers. So in my view of the world, leading is a practice.
Wow.
And I came to the conclusion a long time ago when I thought about, what is it we're talking about when we talk about people leading? I think there are lots of aspects, but one of them, I think a significant aspect, very significant, is that when we're leading, trying to make meaning. We're trying to make meaning in complex, sometimes difficult circumstances with other people, sometimes for other people. And when I bumped into storytelling some 20 odd years ago, I had this kind of insight or this realization that actually story is the primary way that humans as a species, not as a culture, it's completely ubiquitous. It's everywhere in the world. As a species, story is the primary way. It's how we give meaning and significance to our lives.
Hmm.
So if we're leading, if we're trying to make sense and share that sense making, then I think people who have, the job of being a leader, who are called leaders, have a particular responsibility to understand how stories work and to use them responsibly.
I hope you liked it to put the small fire, push the fire button if you agree with us. Let's see how the flame is burning higher and higher. So before we proceed to our speakers, I would like to share my perspective. And this is something that's related to the Simon Singh's Golden Circle. I believe this book was written, this idea or model was written back in 2014. Usually we talk to people when we want them to do something. Come to us and join us. Please pass the saucer and so on. Sometimes we go to another level. Maybe we um, uh, give please do this and this in order to achieve this and this. This is kind of an instruction. And on the deepest third level, actually, it's all about why. It's not only about what, it's about how, it's about why. Here we actually duplicate ourselves. So it's actually some here why uh, is very, very deep. In Russian, we even have two words. We have zачем and почему. Um, so this is due to something and because of something. And you see, this middle part in the Russian words means what? It's one of the forms of the word because, the Russian is a kind of funny language. So why it's important? So, for example, we have this почему. So actually, this literally means by what? What road have followed you here? So I came here by this particular road. If we use the another type of why question in Russian, zачем, it literally translates as afterwards. So what afterwards I'm pursuing something. What is pulling us forward? So почему is about the reason. And zачем also means why. It's the motive. Let's give a quick example. So let's imagine my son who comes with me to an apple. Kostya, I tell him, why, зачем you brought this apple? Because I want you to clean it. If I ask him why, like, почему you brought this apple? It's because I'm hungry, my son told me. So you see, this is very different. There are different whys. Sometimes why means what was the reason for you to come, what you want from me, and why is means um, what was your inner motivation. So actually, why can be addressed to the future, like, and also it can be addressed to your inner motivation. So it's very important for a person not only to tell him what for a person is doing something, but because of what. We can give to another person this idea because of what a person does something. Also, another way to do this is to tell the story and to make a person understand for himself because of what he's doing something. You saw Nikolai, who is working in one of the banks we're working with. And in one of the training, he said that during 6 years, he had a very huge promotion. I told him, how you did it? He told me, Artem, that's a good question. He told me, 6 years ago, no one could answer me. We didn't have any adaptation day, for example. But I was sitting with my future chief, with my future boss, and he was showing me different processes that I was going to work with. And actually, at the very beginning, I told my boss that I see that some processes are actually not very logic in the current place of work. So it was my first day, and I already suggested a new idea, and nobody was even doing some obstacles to me. They all all agreed with my idea, although I was a newcomer. And afterwards, my boss told me, if you will work like this, you'll be promoted immediately. My client always saw how it's better to improve something. It's very good that with this story, actually, he showed us why we are motivated to improve something at this bank. And this is, I understood the general idea how to grow in this company. He didn't give me some tools, he gave me the motivation. When he was sharing this story, everyone of us has understood because of what it's important to give the ideas in this company and so on. And this is the main difference. So the story is actually motivating, it's not persuading, it's not instructing. And the person who understands the reason, uh, um, he has the inner motivation, the wish to be active, to give ideas and so on. And then a person understands the reason, only what and how become not the obstacles but the tools. One of the storytellers thought that storytelling reveals meaning without committing the error of defining it. And I believe this is a very good quote. And I believe this is what Jeff was talking about in the video that I showed you. Story doesn't push you. It gives you the senses, the meanings, and you can think on your own. If you like this idea, this understanding of the storytelling, please push the fire button. I would be really happy to see your feedback. Thank you very much. That's very nice to see. The story is very closely related to the culture. So why we should actually speak of the question why of both Russians, Zачем and почему. But I believe that corporate culture is a set of meanings that help our tribesmen, so to say, find answers to key questions. It doesn't make them find answers, it helps them. When I asked Nikolai how I can promote myself, actually the question was why I can be sure that by giving ideas here, by giving all my work here, I'll be promoted. Before I will have an answer to this question, I won't be really ready to share my knowledge, my ideas. Until the people in company won't understand why we do this particular thing, we won't be zesty about the particular work. And the leader must give an answer, or better say, must give the understanding. Some things, some people think that values are being some motors, be responsible, be a good worker. Those are motors. That's not what we need. Stories, they show the real values. Values actually is something that help an employee and then have these answers to those inner questions. Why they should work, why they should be active, why they should be interested. Where and when did I realize that what is considered right in this particular company? In Northwest Mutual, back in 19, back two trains crash, 14 people die, and actually two of those people had the insurance from the Northwestern Mutual. More than $300 had to be paid, and it's the end of the 19th century. That the president of the company decided to take their own money and not um, make people wait until all the judges and jurors decide. They decided to pay everything within 5 days, not within 90 days paid by the insurance agreement. This is a story that still is shared on the Northwestern Mutual corporate side. How you would describe this value that these people in the company followed? I've just recently read the story by Emily Clark, where I heard the story of this company. One man there, as a broker, has the responsibility to find the people who get lost. And this broker was trying to find one of the old men, and he found him in an elderly house. The broker told to the son of this man that actually this elderly man was insured, and this is why some money for the elderly house could be paid by the company. You see, this broker could just forget about this elderly man, but actually he helped him and his son. You see, those are some inbuilt values, not just some mottos. Mission is not what should I work here for? Sometimes missions are really badly formulated. We are here to create a good product. We are here to make our company bigger. We are here to be the best. Why? Why is about oneself, not not about the product. In many companies, we have such badly formulated missions. Mission is about why it is important to work here if I can fulfill my potential in the same way in another company. By follow, we worked with Alpina Digital because we wanted to understand what is the mission, well, why in company. And we asked the employers of the company, where and when did I realize that my work is really something that matters? And this is the question that we asked the employees of the Alpina Digital. I'll show you part of the training, part of a
Гриша, я
story.
думаю, про
The
Сергея
story will be
Сергеевича.
told in
Да,
Russian, but
да,
there will
вот
be
это вот
subtitles
прям
in
вообще.
English.
Ага.
Выступаю я, значит, по-моему, в Дикси, значит, с Адизесом. Местный генеральный директор, фанат тоже Адизеса, как выяснилось. И, предваряя мое выступление, рассказывая, как он прочитал Адизеса. А он такой очень конкретный ритейловый деловой чувак. Прочитал Адизеса, распечатал, значит, себе каждый профайлик, попросил ассистентку повесить вот так вот на стенку, кто, что, как. На каждом профайлике написал имя, ну, человека, с которым он общается, там, ну, директора департаментов там и так далее, всех, вот. И когда к нему навстречу кто-то приходил, он говорит, так, подожди, сейчас быстро про него проглядывал листочек и уже, значит, общался вполне конкретно. Вот. И вот он, значит, рассказал эту практическую пользу, он говорит, и вот мне подчиненные дали фидбэк, мол, Сергей Сергеевич, а что же вы раньше эту книгу не прочитали? Ну, типа, столько боли можно было бы избежать, столько нервов потратили. Вот. Вот, примерно
Класс.
такая штука.
Спасибо. Давайте поаплодируем. Гриша, это прям прекрасно.
As a result of this session, the team of Alpina Digital understood that they work in order to motivate other people for development so that everyone would fulfill their dream. This is why they work. This actually maybe sounds also as a badly formulated mission, but it is supported by the stories. It has thanks to all of those people. You know, this person who read a book and then fulfilled his dreams and had a better understanding of his work and generally worked better. So if you liked this idea and the way one can motivate the ideas, can motivate, please push the fire button. The guy who was selling this story before the session, he was almost not speaking to me. He was only saying yes, no, yes, no. I was so afraid he won't share. But when we started the session, actually his team told him to tell the story because it wasn't the storytelling. It was just sharing the stories. We all share stories. We won't teach you storytelling. We all know how to share stories. If you have at least once shared the story about your weekend, please put an exclamation mark in the chat. I'm not sure you have ever shared a story about your weekend with anyone, or maybe you still. I see that some people even put many exclamation marks. Yeah. So you see, we all share the stories. Now it's time to understand what stories we should tell. Are they all filled with ideas about the value, mission, strategy, motivation? Sometimes it's harder to find some stories, but actually I'm sure you have those stories. You remember the story about Nikolai? When I was renewing this adaptation day, I came to Nikolai in order to for him to repeat this story he shared with me about his promotion. He told me, oh, that's not a story, that's just a trifle. And back at that moment, I understood that the storytelling, when we hear this, we actually sometimes get really afraid of this and think that we don't know anything about the stories. And so please remember, we are all storytellers. And during those conference days, we'll try to understand how to do it for the particular reason, for a particular task. Okay? So we are here today, all in this journey, where we'll be joined by wonderful speakers. So let's have a look at those who will have today. Mr. Sergei Gavlich, who will tell us about how um, to fill the stories with a real meaning. When we'll be joined by Saudhari Mukherjee, who'll be talking about the culture building. She'll be talking about who's really responsible for the culture in a company. Our last report in the first part of the conference today will be by Anjali Sharma. She'll be talking about the changes in culture in the company, and she'll be speaking about one example of one company. That's definitely her main topic. When will be the first speaker in the second part of our conference will be Michael Carvey. When we'll be joined by one of the leading storytellers, Paul Smith, who'll be showing several stories and will show how to create the culture you want. When I'll be happy to joined by Mary Alice Arthur. She'll be talking about one case of a merger, and she'll show how story can make the merging successful. The next one will be Karen Ditz. She'll be talking about the vision storytelling. She's one of the pioneers in the world of storytelling. I'm sure you all like it. And the last today will be Stephen James and Tom Morrissey, who will be talking about how to convey their values through the power of story. Well, in the Telegram chat, you can find all the announcements, all different details about our conference. Please scan the QR code or use the link that I will post in the chat. Please join because where you can ask questions and just generally have a nice conversation. I'm really full of anticipation. I hope I also give you a very nice start. So let's welcome our first